Okay, so feeling with the back of my hand, I can feel that my little backwash there is dry. So I'm going to skip this tree because that's going to be the first stage one that I want to have in my little directions for you all later on to go back to and refer to. So I'm going to start with this one, and I already prepared my colors. I'm going to, for the evergreen twigs that are sticking out under the snow, I have indigo, burnt sienna, and then I put a little bit of French ultramarine down here. And over here I already prepared, that's going to be for the little bit of the trunk that shows up. And there I have French ultramarine blue and then burnt sienna, because that makes a nice darker brown, and I can vary it from warmer to cooler. And as you can see, I don't like to mix like one big mixture of my colors. I like them to be kind of intermixed a little bit, and so I get a lot of variety in the color scheme there. So anyway, I'm using my favorite brush here, which is a dagger brush. It's a 1/2 inch dagger brush, and as you can see, it's well worn. And I have another one lined up there. I often work with more than one brush just so I don't have to rinse out all that wonderful pigment that I have. So I'm going to load up this brush, dip it in here and there in a variety of colors. And I never go straight from my palette into my paper because, you know, I have too much pigment on my brush here. So I'm going to just dab it like that and get that extra pigment off so I can control it. And let's see how we're doing here. Still too wet, so take off a little bit more of the water by just touching down there by the bottom of the hairs where the ferrule is. Alright, let's see. Yeah, that's better. So now I'm just going, I have my little pencil lines, and I need to have it a little bit darker. Again, need to take that drop off. And I'm kind of just concerned about my edges here, that they look kind of like these twigs that are sticking out. I can go back, and actually I want to go over and get a little bit more of that indigo that's so nice and dark, and just get a little bit of a darker color that I can lay in here and there. And I'm going to put that in, especially kind of like where I think a little bit more shadow might fall. Just like that. Just thinking about my edges. And remember here, you know, if you don't get it 100% perfect, I'm probably not going to get it 100% perfect, we have time to adjust it as we go. I like the color variance. Can you see it get a little bit lighter, a little bit darker? That's exactly what we're going for. And depending on how much green you have sticking out under the snow, you know, depends on how much snow is still sticking to the branches. So you can have almost all snow covered branches, and you can just also have just a tiny bit of snow left, and all of it would be totally realistic, because, you know, the snow, it varies. If it's a wet snow, it sticks more on the branches. If it just snowed, it sticks more on the branches. If the wind came by, it blew some of the snow off. So, you know, you can justify whatever you get. And just dip in and get something a little bit darker. I'm thinking especially down here, the bottom of the tree. It's going to be a little darker, not so much light comes down here. So there we have it. Alright, that's the first one. So I'm going to do the other 3, and then we're going to go back and do the next step on this third tree. Alright, see you in a bit. Okay, my paint is dry, and so that was step 1, get the masking fluid on. Step 2, after the masking fluid is dry, we put in all the little dark twigs that are underneath the snow on the branches. And then step 3 is I want to just put in whatever I can see of that trunk. And I already pre-mixed some burnt sienna and some French ultramarine blue. That gives kind of a nice different browns, cooler or warmer, depending on what we want and what we need. So again, It's going to take some of that extra moisture off so I can control it, and I'm just going to paint here on this third tree in my row here, and I'm just going to find wherever I have that trunk and just get it in. Put a little bit more warmth in. You know, it's barely visible, but it's got to be there. So I'm going to do the trunk on these other trees as well. But there it is, and on the last one. Good enough. Okay, so I'm just giving you a little close-up of the tree so you can see it a little bit better. There you go. So, wait for that to dry and then we'll be back. Alright, my artwork is dry now, and I can take the masking off. I'm going to use a rubber cement eraser, and just gently, I'm going to do it on this tree here, and just kind of, you know, you grab the edges and it comes off easily. Like that. And there you have it. And then this is what it looks like. You can feel with your hands if there's anything left, and I can feel a little bit left there. Alrighty. And so now you have the snow revealed, and now we need to work a little bit on those edges so they're not so cut out. And what I like to do first is put this away, and then I'm going to grab a little kneaded eraser. It's one of these here. You can knead it, and so you can get a clean it every time you knead it, you know, you get clean sides. Because I don't really like, you know, I can see a lot of my pencil lines, and now I know where the tree is, I know where the branches are. I don't really need those guidelines anymore, so I'm going to try and erase as many of them as I can with my kneaded eraser. And I won't get them all, but that's okay. Alright, so I got most of them out, and I'm going to take off the masking of the last two trees here. I'm going to leave this one the way it is, so you can see that that's what we end up with once we take the masking off, and then you'll be able to see the difference between when we take it off and when we work with the edges. And then the last one we're going to work with the snow. So I'll be back in just a minute after I've taken the masking off those two. Okay, now you can see I took the masking off, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. See? So now you can see you have all those hard edges here from the masking fluid. So we need to break some of those and make them a little bit more believable. So that's the next step we're going to be working on. That's making the little uncovered twigs look more believable and make the edge of the snow look more believable. Alrighty, I'm going to leave this one for the instruction sheet so you can see what it looks like right after we've removed the masking fluid, and then I'm going to work on this tree to show you how I'll go about it. So I have that same color that I used, just respray that. Spray that one too, just in case. And then I have my dagger brush. I'm going to put clean water on it. I'm going to dab it. I have a towel underneath here, so I can usually dab it on there. Just want to show you. So it's not too dripping wet. And then I'm going to load it up. I'm going to load it up with some of that dark color that I had mixed from my indigo and my burnt sienna. I might even borrow a little burnt sienna from over here. And a little dark from down here. Alright. So now my brush is way too wet, so we want to take some of that moisture off, otherwise we're going to lose control completely. I don't like to lose control. So here we have it. I think it's good now. And so we're going to leave that one alone, so we're going to work on this tree here. So for instance here, I can see my color is totally not dark enough, so I need to darken that up. Alright, so here, let's go back in again and see here. And then this little twig can overlap on the snow there. You want a little overlapping. That's really what I'm trying to get. And so I'm just going to work my way. So I just want you to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, so let's continue. And there's a little bit there. And this one can overlap on that snow, and so can this one here. So we want to get some of those shapes overlapping. And then here, break into that. And here, and maybe a little bit is showing here. A little bit is showing here. So let's see what else. Showing up in those crevices maybe. Here. And I think we pretty much got it. Make some little twig looking edges there. And here that needs to break into there. And you can just do some little dips and dabs here and there, just to break it a little bit more. There we go. Let's not get carried away. It's good enough for what we need. Okay? Alrighty, we are ready to put the last shadow in the snow on this one here. So I mixed myself up another very thin mix of cobalt blue and a little bit of the Opera Rose, and as you can see I have it very thin. You don't need very much. I think I'll call that done. Alrighty, here you have it. So hopefully you can see the difference between this tree who doesn't have any shadows on and this tree who has shadows on. And let me zoom in a little bit more so you can kind of see a little part of the branch. There you go, you can see a little bit of the shadows there. And I'm going to try and darken the background a little bit behind the tree. That would make it pop out even more, of course. So have fun and try yourself. So here you can see the finished tree out to the right there. I'm going to zoom in so you can get a little bit of a better look. And as you can see, I darkened the background just a little bit, just to make that snow stand out a little bit. So wherever you put your evergreen trees with the snow on, you know, make sure that you have a little bit of darkness behind it. And it can be all sorts of things, you know. It can be more trees, it can be the sky, it can be some mountains. Just make them darker. Okay, so here you see the final result of the evergreen with the snow-laden branches, and you can see how just putting that little bit of shadow on and darkening the background a little bit really makes it stand out and look much more three-dimensional than when I just had taken the masking fluid off, and then here we worked on the edges of the little twigs, but we still had the snow just white, and then here we put a little bit of shadow right on the edges, and that makes the whole difference. Alright, have fun! Finally, here you can see a couple of my paintings where I have used the technique I just showed you. Try it yourself and have a lot of fun. See you later! You can download the instructions on my website under Eva's Tips and Tricks.